Alright, so this is a thing that I made on a laser cutter. It's just a box, but it's a cardboard box, and it's very, very sturdy. So I made one, and I released it into the wild that is the upstairs, which is a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old own. And you can see that it is held up for 3 days in that environment. So that's how I test if something's really sturdy or not. I just toss it in the living room, and if it survives for 3 days, it's good go. You know, hinges, whatever, they'll find a way to break it. In this case, they've stickered it and colored it and did all kinds of crazy things to it. I seen my 4-year-old stand on it to try to reach something, so very cool. Alright, now you can use this method for any shape really. So here's a pyramid. Cardboard box pyramid. Using the same method. So I'm going to be showing you how to make one of these, and we're going to be making an actual product like a lantern or a light shade or something like that out of this. So all we have to do now is go into Illustrator and lay out the workflow. Alright, so we begin in Illustrator here, and I'm going to make a new document. The laser cutter bed for the one at work is 12 by 8, so I'm just going to, it's actually 14 and a half by 9.5, but the effective cutting ratio or laser is actually 12 by 8. So we're going to go 12 by 8. Alright, also I like to employ Photoshop for some of this. So we're going to launch Photoshop. Get these out of here. There we go. And for the document for Photoshop, it doesn't really matter what size you use because we're just going to be copy pasting it over to Illustrator. So I'm just going to use US paper. Okay, next we're going to draw a rectangle, any size, maybe with a wide base like this one. Okay, on a new layer, layer, we're going to be laying this out so it has a black border. Well, how do you do that? Well, very easy. First, let's just start out very stupid simple and grab a brush that is like the hard edge brush at the very top here. Let's take and click and then hold shift and then click, click, hold shift, click, click, hold shift, click, click, hold shift, click. Alright, so I got a pseudo border, and it doesn't have to be perfect. In fact, anything can go on the inside of this as long as it's interconnected like a web. In other words, if I took a line like this, it has to kind of connect to the other side. I couldn't have a floating object like this because it would not work. Okay, so I can cut a path there. Now, again, I'm going to try to keep this as stupid simple as possible for this exercise, but I will say anything works for this. Like if it was a spider web in the center, as long as it was all connected, I'm going to try to make it just, lines. Okay, so click, hold, shift, click, click, hold, shift, click. So I can connect things like that. Perfect. Not overwhelming, just there. Okay, so I'm going to copy this, and I'm going to go over to Illustrator and paste it in. Perfect. I'm going to do a live trace on this. and hit OK. I'm not even going to go into the fact that you could ignore white, because every time I tell students to ignore white, they do not. So here's how you do this. After you live trace it, you hit expand. You click over into any of the area that is not the artboard. You click back on the object and go edit, ungroup. And you repeat that process until you can't ungroup anymore. Okay, so if you have something under outline, you'll see that there is no white area out here because I'm using CS6, but you could possibly have that. And how you get rid of it is you just click on the area that is white and you can get rid of it. See, click delete. How do you distinguish which is which, black or white? Very easy. Let's use common sense. If I take the black object, go back to preview, and move it, all other shapes that are left behind are, that's white. Alright, so there we go. Got this cool thing. And when I look at it in outline, it should look like this. Nice and clean. I'm going to shrink this up just a little bit. I'm holding shift here. Remember, this is a random size, totally random, so you do not have to match my size whatsoever. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to lay out the sawtooth design that goes around the outside edge. I also have to establish a square in order to have a bottom. Okay, very easy for the square. Let's go like this. We start here, hold shift, click and drag until we reach the other side and it locks. Okay, this bottom is the effective bottom for the design. It's not going to have a top because it's a lantern. Alright, so the next step is we create a little cube, little rectangle, and then we go into the transform menu, window, transform. We measure our media. In this case, it's cardboard. Cardboard is 1/8 of an inch. Okay, if you take it times 2, that's what? 1/4 of an inch. So that's what we want. We want the width of this to be 0.25. So whatever media that you're using, just double it, and then you'll have a good cut. The other half is unknown, so I don't know the height of this just yet. Okay, I'm going to go back into outline. I'm going to take this, I'm going to put it right here, and I'm holding Alt, click and drag. Hold Alt, click and drag. Now if I want to speed up the process, I can take the black arrow, highlight 3 of these at a time, hold Alt, click and drag, and there we go. Now I count them up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. An even amount of number. That's the law. It has to be an even amount. So in order for these to go all the way to the edge, I just click and drag to highlight them all, and then pull it to the outside edge. So it has to be an even amount of number on all sides. Alright, so grab them all again, hold Alt, click and drag, hold Alt, click and drag. This time I'm going to say this needs to be at 90 degrees. Then I can click and drag it to the corner here. Alt, click and drag it to the corner here. So these little X's that you see right here, see those little X's? They have to be on that line. Okay, let's repeat the process for the rectangle. Let's take these, Alt, click and drag. These should measure out perfect. I don't want to do the top part because again it's a lantern. Alt, click and drag. Let's rotate that back to 90, shall we? Put it on the corner. Uh-oh, it doesn't go to the top. What do we do? Well, we add two more. So Alt, click and drag. And now they don't fit. No problem. Remember, it has to be an even amount. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Whoop. 7, 8. Good. And then what I do here is I just shorten it. Okay, let's do that over here. So notice I shortened all of them at once. Alright, now the next step is just delete every other one. 1, 2, 3, going all the way around the shape. So I'm holding Shift here. And hitting delete. Let's do the same with this one. Perfect. Okay, now highlight all of them on this side. Let's go into a thing called Pathfinder. And we'll click this one right here. What that did is it used those objects to subtract away from the material. And over here I'll do the same. Perfect. So now what we have is interlocking pieces. I'm just going to put this in perspective for you. If I have 4 of these, so Alt, click and drag, you notice they interlock. Alt, click and drag. Now, you're not going to be able to fit too many on one piece of cardboard. And just to be safe, I'm going to choose to do these 2 and maybe this one. So we're going to try to arrange these so they fit. You're going to have to arrange yours to fit also. Now yours could be completely different looking than mine. Different sizes, whatever. So effectively what I'm going to have to do is print 4 of these and 1 of these. Alright, so I do this. I like doing this because I like to share my stuff as far as give it out for like open source. I'll say times print times 2 print times 1. And I'll I'll just click and drag this meatball up. I'll add everything that is just one object to this one. And I'll take these things and move them down here. So now I know I got to print 2 of these and 1 of those. That'll make it easier to hide and show things. I also put a little notch in the corner up here for the laser cutter. Basically what this does is locks that corner to be absolute 0 on the laser cutter. Works out really well as a trick. This will keep it away from the outside edge too much. Alright, perfect. So now this is ready to cut out. Just get rid of this one. Go back to preview. Now what I like to do is go like this. Take and give it no fill. And I like to set the stroke value as black. and the stroke value to be 0.1. Alright, save this out and bring it over to the laser cutter. For me, I just want to save it out as something on my system that I can get to. Dropbox that. Perfect. For you guys, you have to save onto a thumb drive and bring it over to the laser cutter. So, enjoy and print your object and put it together. I use hot melt, works out really well. If you're going to be using this with a candle, I would probably think about that for a minute. Maybe not hot melt, and think about, cardboard equals fire. So I kind of use LEDs or those little pumpkin lights in the class, if all possible. If you make this big enough, you can actually use it as a lampshade. So I have a couple examples of those also that I'll probably show you in the video. Enjoy. Alright, an option for the really smart student, what you could do here is, for the lantern, let's say I wanted to make a diffused screen, okay, like paper. Like the rice paper lanterns that you see for Japanese, it's kind of like that. So we're going to treat this as the actual, the form for the rice paper or whatever type of paper that you want to use, and then we're going to glue it to the form. So we would need to cut out 4 pieces of paper. Well, what cuts better than a laser, right? So in order to do that, I decide where this paper is going to be. I'm going to choose to have a piece of paper like that. So I need the paper to be about that size right there. Well, then you just take and make a new layer. We'll call it paper. I'll hide everything else. Well, except for the paper, of course. So take the paper, move it up to the next level. Also, I like taking this little cube and Alt drag it up so it matches in the same location. Not needed, but it is helpful. Good for lining up things on a laser cutter. So I just need 4 of these. And it looks like I'm going to have to print it twice, or maybe I can stick one down here. No, one will not fit down there. So I'm going to take this and say ×2. Alright, again, you can use any paper whatsoever. Just make sure you turn down the laser, because paper cuts at about 100 speed, and you can turn down the power all the way down to something like 30 to 40% on it, and it works out quite well. So we have tracing paper, which looks really nice, or you can find some vellum or whatever. Just make sure that you turn down the laser. Alright, so I'm going to continue to cut this out. I'm going to actually put it together and show you what it looks like in the end too. Alright, so here we go. All assembled. I mixed some Elmer's glue and water. Just kind of brushed it over the interior of the frame and then applied the paper. As the paper dries, because it's a little wet, the paper will actually be very taut in those areas because it's very wet glue. Okay, so that's a little tip there for crafting with Jason. Other than that, I used hot melt to melt it all together on the interior as far as these go. Now, very, very flammable. Don't use actually candle in this. It's not good. LEDs would be fine, but really look at it. I mean, does it need anything? It's really sweet. Just the essence of it next to like your monitor or in a window already kind of gives it that kind of really cool rice paper Chinese lantern look. Alright, so I hope you enjoyed the little build, and that's your assignment. Build one of these or something like this. It doesn't have to be this tall or this wide, it just has to follow the same workflow. And yeah, I would say for those individuals that want to do the paper thing, it's very easy. I just wanted to challenge you by saying, for the smart student, you'll do this. Really, you'll probably all do it, but that's one of those art of war things that teachers have to do. So, enjoy.